Hello and welcome to In the Lab. I'm Mr. Walker without my beard, and here's Hannah without a beard. She loves it when I say that for some reason. Thank you for joining me again, Hannah. What form are you in again?
I am in 9 Windsor.
So big up to 9 Windsor. Now, we are going to be doing a question and answer session. So Hannah's going to read the questions and I'm hopefully going to provide some answers. And we might see what Hannah knows along the way as well. So question number 1, what is it?
Question number 1. What happens if a human were to eat another human's brain?
I would say don't. That's just a nice good bit of advice. Do you have any idea what would happen if we were to eat another brain?
I would say the brain is obviously not bad for you to eat, but at the same time you possibly kill the person you ate the brain of.
Now that is a good point. If you try to eat any person or any creature's body part while they're still alive, they don't like it. I've not tried it myself, but I believe they don't like it. So yeah, it's not a good idea.
I wouldn't like it.
The interesting thing is, Hannah, you can actually, without being harmed, eat body parts of creatures that are dead, of human body parts. Any of them are fine to eat because you would just digest them, whether it's kidney or the heart or the liver, you'd break it down, you'd actually get some benefit out of it, just like you would if you ate the body parts, like we do, of many other creatures, unless of course you're vegetarian or vegan. But you can't eat the brain. You can eat any other body parts of a human, but you can't eat the brain. Now the reason is this: there was a culture, and I think the culture is still around actually, and they ate brains in the past. They were cannibals, and a certain disease started to spread amongst that particular people group, and they realized it was because there's a problem with eating human brains. There is a disease that affects the brain caused by prions or prions. Now they are misshaped proteins that, if they get into your brain, can cause your brain to start misfolding proteins. And when the proteins start to become distorted and the wrong shape, your brain doesn't function properly. Mad cow disease is a great example of this, caused by misshaped proteins. And we can't eat cow's brains if it's from a mad cow or a cow with BSE, bovine spongiform encephalitis, a problem in the cow's brain. So if we have a problem in a human brain, you can't eat that human brain. Not that you'd want to, but the point is, could you? It's not worth the risk because you don't know who has got a prion or a prion in their brain that's going to get passed on to you. So do not do it. It is not a good idea.
Well, actually, there is a part of the human which sometimes can be eaten after having a child. The placenta can be cooked and eaten.
Yes,
which
you're right.
many people do.
Many people do that because, of course, it contains a lot of benefit, because that was the part of the body that the unborn baby was using to get its nutrients from. All the nutrients went through the placenta, through the umbilical cord, to the unborn baby. So you're absolutely right there. A lot of people do that. I wouldn't do it myself, but if you're going to eat a placenta, don't eat a brain. Question 2.
Question 2. Can everything blow up?
Can everything blow up? What a question that is. In a sense, yes, I suppose it could. If you mean can everything be set on fire, there's a lot of things that can be set on fire. All the fuels that we use, they would combust. The whole process is combustion, and we make carbon dioxide and water. So in that sense, we can blow them up if we see a lot of fire, yes. If you mean can we actually put explosives in everything and see it blasted apart, then again, the answer is for most things, yes, if you use the right kind of explosive. Some explosives produce a huge amount of gas in a very small space, so they convert the chemical elements that are in the explosives to gas. And when a huge amount of gas is made, it takes up a massive amount of space, more than a solid or a liquid takes up. A gas is much bigger. So when you make loads of gas, it just pushes everything outwards from that point, and you get an explosion, so you can blow loads of stuff up that way. Please don't though. The other way you can do it is with heat. Nuclear weapons, for example, produce a massive amount of heat in one place, and that heat radiates out from one point and again pushes everything out, often vaporizing everything around it in all directions. Again, if you've got any nuclear weapons, please don't use them. But you can blow up a lot of things. Now, we're going to do, in a sense, that second kind of experiment, but not with nuclear weapons. We are going to react two chemicals together to produce heat, and we're going to see what happens. Let's have a look. Okay, so we are now going to do our experiment where we blow something up. What we're going to do is mix two products together, and it's actually the reactant that is going to produce the heat when we set it on fire. We're going to introduce a bit of fire, and it will produce more heat and maybe some noise as well. Exciting stuff. So let's see what's going to happen. We are going to put some magnesium strips. That's just magnesium metal that has been kind of rolled out into some strips and then cut up. We'll put a few in there because we're going to add some hydrochloric acid. Now, it's not especially dangerous acid because it's only at 2 molar. Of course, we are being careful with it. And we are going to put some safety goggles on, or rather safety specs, I should say, before we do it. Back in a moment. So now that we've got our specs on, we can open the acid. Now, as I say, it's only 2 molar, so it's not that bad, but it's just good practice to watch your safety procedures. I'm going to pour some acid onto the hydrochloric acid, and then I'm going to do the following action. So I've poured that on there. That's quite a lot there. You can see a gas is being produced. The boiling tube is resting on top because it's going to catch that gas, which is moving upwards into the boiling tube. It's filling it from the top and it's pushing all the air outwards. So in a few moments, we're going to see what happens when we light the gas that is produced. Now, metal and acid, what does it produce, Hannah?
Metal and acid.
Metal and acid, what does it produce?
Either an alcohol or an acid, but I can't remember.
And we've got no matches. So again, we'll be back in a moment after we've given a bit more time for the gas to fill the tube. So, we've now got some actual matches. We've got our specs on, we're definitely ready now. So what's your answer? What do you think is the gas that's produced from metal and acid? Any metal and any acid will produce this gas.
I think it might be hydrogen.
It is hydrogen. Of course, if you add other things to the metal, if you have a metal oxide or metal carbonate or metal something else, you're not going to get hydrogen necessarily. It's got to be just the metal and the acid, and you will produce hydrogen. What does hydrogen do when you set it on fire?
Does it make a sound?
Does it make a sound? It's actually a test. If you think you've got hydrogen, you can do this test. It's called the squeaky pop test to see if what you have is actually hydrogen. So let's see what's going to happen. It may be quiet, it may not be. We should, now the reaction is finished, have a test tube full of hydrogen. Unless you'd like to light it. Oh, go for it. Hold it by that end then. Remember, if you lift this up and you tip it, all the hydrogen will shoot out because hydrogen goes up. It's lighter than air. So just lift it up like this. Don't put it anywhere near yet. Just lift it up like that. The hydrogen isn't going to escape. So you can hold this with the other hand and then put that up the tube. Here we go. Oh, nice. That was the squeaky pop test in action. Not incredibly loud, but we got the pop, and it proved, of course, that we have indeed made what we thought we had. And is that warm? Can you feel that now?
Oh, that's definitely warm.
It is warm. You made you jump because you didn't expect it. The reaction produces quite a lot of heat. If hydrogen is combusted like that, and it produces so much heat in one space, the heat wave going outwards can break glass and all sorts of stuff. So you have to be very careful when you are around hydrogen.
Can I ask a question why that might be so hot?
Oh, yes, yes.
So you know how when you blow out a candle and it does smoke, and you can relight the smoke to get it to light a fire? Is that why it's so hot in there, because it shoots up within the air, like the smoke sort of stuff, and then light a fire?
We've literally burnt the hydrogen that's there. We have reacted it with oxygen, and you can see there that we have made hydrogen and oxygen together, which of course is called water. So you can see we've got condensation on the inside of the tube there. That's one of the products. The other was carbon dioxide. So when that happens, this is what we've got. Well, carbon dioxide when you've got carbon burnt as well, and there probably was a bit of carbon burnt from this little splint there. So we've got all sorts of stuff going on there, and it's hot because that reaction is exothermic. You put a bit of heat in and it produces a lot more heat. Well, back to the question station.
Question number 3 is, what is a black hole?
What is a black hole? Well, your pupil is a black hole. Every full stop is a black hole if you're using black pen, but I don't think the question refers to that. Do you know, Hannah, what a black hole is?
A black hole is a matter of space in which light itself is absorbed, and it goes quicker than the speed of light, obviously, to absorb it. Now, nothing can get past it. It can devour planets all at once, but it can't really be destroyed.
Oh, now there's some true things in there that you have said. A black hole is a singularity. That means a tiny, tiny pinprick in space that has a huge amount of mass all in that pinprick. It's highly, highly condensed. There's a huge amount of mass, therefore there's a huge amount of gravity pulling everything in, including, as you said, light. Now light, once it has been pulled in because of the strong gravitational pull, it can't get back out again. Now if light can't come out, we can't see it. So it appears to be black. That's why we call it a black hole. Where does it come from though? Where does it come from? Do you know where a black hole comes from?
I think it is from two galaxies colliding, but I'm not sure.
Oh, well, there's lots of different ideas and probably a lot of them are true. We do say that the life cycle of a star involves the sun, like we have, having a lot of hydrogen that fuses together. Now, when that fuses together, it releases a lot of heat and light. When we run out of hydrogen, the helium that has now been formed then starts to fuse together and it gets very, very big and it makes a red giant. Now, our sun's going to do that one day when the hydrogen runs out. It's going to get absolutely massive, become huge, probably overtake Mercury, Venus, maybe even to Earth. That's how big it's going to become. And then when all of that process is finished, we think it's going to get smaller again to become a white dwarf or even a black dwarf, and it might explode in a supernova. That supernova might collapse and all of the mass in that supernova might go down into a pinprick size and become a black hole. Or it could be two galaxies of mass coming together and squashing down into a tiny pinprick size. It could be all sorts of reasons that will lead to that happening. We're not quite sure because it takes a very, very long time for this to happen. Here's a picture on the screen of what we think a black hole might look like. It's very difficult to know because it's incredibly far away. But we think it might look like this. And the light that you see going around it changing direction is the light being sucked in and eventually going into the black hole. The centre is right at the centre of the black is where the black hole is, and where you can't see any light, that point is called the event horizon. Beyond that point, light cannot escape. The light you see around it is being distorted and pulled in, but we're still able to see it because it's not in the black hole or the immediate vicinity of it. Very complicated stuff there, and we don't know that much about it. But I will tell you this, if you get too close to a black hole and you cross the event horizon from the point where you can see the light around the outside to the middle, as soon as you cross that line, scientists think that you will be very quickly pulled to the centre and spaghettification happens. In other words, the bit of you that crosses the line gets pulled really long like spaghetti and you become like long strands until all of you gets pulled into the middle. So can you travel inside a black hole? The scientists think it's not worth trying because you would literally become long and thin and separated out like spaghetti. Well, there you go.
I like spaghetti, but I do not want to become it.
Yes, you like it, but you don't want to become it. I think that's quite wise words of advice from Hannah there. Now, it is time for the killer question. And the killer question links to what we've just been talking about. So, Hannah, the question is this. It was given in to us. And it says, will the sun ever stop shining? Well, we know the answer. Yes, it will. But my question to you is, when? How many years will it take before the sun stops shining? While you're thinking about that, let me just clarify one point. There's 2 points in time we could be talking about here. We could be talking about when the hydrogen gets used up and it starts to become a red giant. At the moment it's just yellow. When it starts to become bigger, we could say, well, then it's not really shining. It kind of is, but it's the end of the current process. So how long do you think before we get to that point? Or you could say, how long is it going to be before it stops being red and it shrinks to a black or a white dwarf? So give me 2 figures. When's it going to start becoming a red giant and when's it going to stop completely and become small? What do you think?
I would
3 years,
say,
2 years? What do you think?
I think I would say that for it to become bigger,
Yeah.
I would say like 2.5 billion years roughly-ish.
Gone with quite a big number to start with. Yeah.
And then for it to then compact itself into a black dwarf,
Yeah.
I would say that would take, I don't know, 200 billion years.
200 billion years. Whoa, we've gone for big numbers. Maybe you're right. I can reveal the answer to you, or the answer that we think, because, well, we can't prove the scientists wrong, and by the time we can, they'll all be dead. Because it is a long, long time. We think that it will actually be 5 billion until that particular point, and then another 2 or 3 billion, so 8 billion years before it becomes a black dwarf. So it's quite a quick stage of being a red dwarf before it becomes a black one. If 3 billion years is a quick stage, not quite as many as 200 billion.
I was quite far off with the black dwarf bit, but I was halfway there
Yeah.
with the massive bit.
If a few billion off, a few billion years away is close.
0.5.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. In other words, it's a very long, long time away, and you don't really have to worry too much about it now. That's the key takeaway point. So, thank you very much for tuning in once again. This has been In the Lab. Bye for now.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe to In the Lab if you think Mr. Walker is cool.
Please remember to like and subscribe to In the Lab.